What is going on, everyone? Coach Ben here in the office, and today I'm going to show you how you can take your macronutrient targets and set up a sustainable and realistic nutrition plan that you can hit each and every day and reach your fat loss goals. I'm making this video today with my clients in mind. It is directed at my clients so that they can take the macronutrient plan I designed for them or you and put together a day of eating you could replicate each and every day. Now, if you're not one of my clients, that's fine. Hopefully, the tips I provide you here today can help you as you set up your meal plan. Let's go. I want to make this video very concise. So we're going to go over some steps in order so that you can start following them today. The first step is learning and being able to identify what a source of each macronutrient actually is. So our macronutrients are made up of carbs, fats, and protein. Going down the list, here are some sources of, firstly, carbohydrates. Oats, rice, pasta, bread, potatoes, fruits and veggies are some examples of carbohydrates. That's not an exhaustive list, but those are mainly your staples. Next, protein. Chicken, beef, turkey, venison, bison, fish, especially lean fish like a whitefish, cod, tilapia, pollock, something else like ahi tuna, egg whites, whey protein powder, any protein powder really, low fat or non-fat Greek yogurt, low fat or non-fat cottage cheese, seitan, edamame, tofu, tempeh, all sources of protein. Fats, you want to think of things like seeds, nuts, nut butters, oils such as olive oil, sesame oil, avocado oil, egg yolks, avocado, salmon. While being a protein source, is also a source of fat, very high quality fat, I should add. Other sources of fat, specifically saturated fats, be things like butter, cheese, bacon, sausage, fatty cuts of meat like a ribeye steak as opposed to a flank steak. The ribeye is very high in calories from fat, okay? A pork chop is going to be high in calories from dietary fat versus a pork tenderloin, which is very high in protein, low in calories from fat. So that's going to do it, roughly speaking, of course, for the sources of each macronutrient. When you think of protein specifically, think of the lean source. So when I mentioned chicken earlier, not every cut of chicken is created equal. Chicken breast tenderloins are very lean. 4 ounces has half a gram of fat, 26 grams of protein. 4 ounces of skin on chicken thighs is going to have anywhere between 10 and 15 grams of fat and about 20 to 25 grams of protein per 4 ounce serving. So as you can see, the same serving size of the fattier cut of chicken is much higher in calories. So I always recommend taking a lean protein and then add the fats later. Same thing for beef. Flank steak, sirloin steak, London broil, for example, very lean. Ribeye steak, T-bone, porterhouse, very high in fat and thus high in calories. Ground meats are another excellent example here. Go with the lean option. I recommend 90% leanness or leaner, okay? 90-10 beef, for example, 93-7 beef or turkey or chicken or all the ground meats, 96-4, 99-1 are going to be leaner than a 85-15, an 80-20 cut, a 73-27 cut. Always check the food labels when you're at the grocery store. Let's move on to the next point. Okay, you've established what a source of each macronutrient actually is. Now, we need to set up your daily nutrition plan. Decide how many meals you want to have or need to have to fit into your daily routine realistically so you're hitting your macro targets and staying on track. I generally recommend 3 to 5 meals, roughly the same size. It doesn't have to be exact throughout the day. Why? Well, this is going to help manage and regulate hunger levels, so keep that hunger at bay, okay? And keep energy in a good, sustained place. If I'm waiting to eat until 7 o'clock at night, chances are I'm going to start snacking throughout the day. If we have a structured approach where we're having 3, 4, maybe 5 meals every day, It's going to eliminate, at least bring down a probability of frequent snacking and thus consuming excess calories, which is going to be in opposition of your goals. Here's a quick example. Let's say you have 4 kids, you got to bring them to school, you got to bring them to practice at night. Oh, and you also have a job. You work 8 to 10 hours a day and you have to commute to work. All right, well, hey, we got some things on our plate, right? No pun intended. So we need to be mindful and intentional about how we set up our day. So maybe you wake up at 6 a.m., you have to be at work at 9, you got to bring the kids to school at 7:30, for example. Okay, maybe we're having breakfast between 6:15 and 6:30, because after that, you got to get the kids ready for school, got to get some things together, and then head out the door. So we have 15 minutes to make breakfast. Okay, well, hey, this could be meal 1, whatever you want to have. Let's say, for example, it's an omelet with egg whites, a whole egg or 2, some veggies, in a bowl of oatmeal. You can make the bowl of oatmeal in the microwave at the same time as you are making your omelet. You don't have to eat any of those foods. That's just an example, okay? So that's meal 1, right? Meal 2, we get a 20-minute break between 12 and 1 o'clock, somewhere in that range, that you can have a meal. Okay, so we gotta bring a meal with us to work, right? So put something in a Tupperware container, store it in a cooler or a refrigerator. If your break room has a microwave, you can reheat it. If it doesn't, you can eat it cold. Just make sure what you're bringing is something you like eating. If you bring chicken and rice and put nothing on it and you eat it cold, you're gonna hate that. I know I would, at least. So take that same boring chicken and rice meal and jazz it up a little bit. I discuss this all the time in my other videos, but here's an example. If I take 30 grams or 1 serving of light sour cream, and then I throw in some salsa and maybe some veggies, maybe let's have some lettuce, tomato, onion. It's like a Chipotle Tex-Mex bowl that can taste very good cold. And I could get a little bit more creative and put some refried beans or black beans in there or something. The point is, it's not just plain food, right? So make sure you are enjoying the foods that you eat. But this is something you can put in a small Tupperware container and bring along with you on your busy day, as an example. So now we got 2 meals covered. Okay, maybe you want to have 3 meals in a day, right? Okay, so we got to have 1 more meal. Dinner, okay? So maybe we pick the kids up from school, we got to bring them to practice, and then after practice, we're bringing them home, right? And we're going to have a meal together with the family. That can be your 3rd meal, right? Just would have whatever you determined. You need to hit your targets with foods that you do like so you're staying on track. And maybe that is something similar to what lunch was. Maybe this time it's a lean steak and pasta. And maybe the kiddos are having some extra cheese on their pasta and you are just not. Maybe it's just ground meat, pasta sauce, a teaspoon of grated cheese, and some veggies. There we go. You could take those ingredients and adjust them to hit your macro targets rather simply. Of course, you don't have to eat any of the foods I mentioned. I just want to give you some examples. So, all that to say, come up with a structure for your daily nutrition. If you're on the other end of the spectrum and you're like, Ben, I'm just not that hungry, put in a liquid calorie meal into your day. I could take a protein shake and add a scoop of protein powder, a tablespoon of almond butter, some fruit like a banana, and 8 ounces of water. I could blend that up. I can make that very calorically dense. I could put a couple scoops, a couple tablespoons, 30, 40 grams of almond butter in there, make it very calorically dense, right? And I could chug that in 3 seconds. It's not very filling. You could get the job done if you're not that hungry. Now, we've determined how many meals you want to have each day. We also know what a source of protein, carbohydrate, and fat actually is. Let's set up a meal. I do not want you just throwing foods together and hoping your calories and your macros line up at the end of the day. You must have some structure. Enter the Coach Ben 3-5 single ingredient foods for your meals. Let me explain a little bit further. Take a protein source firstly, add your main carbohydrate source to the meal, and then round out that meal with a fruit or veggie of choice. Eat your fruits and veggies. And then add 1 or 2, maybe 3 low-calorie condiments to make your food taste better, okay? Let's go back to the example I used earlier. I could take a chicken and rice meal and make it very boring to eat, or I can make it excellent to eat. Going back to the initial example, let's just use those foods again. Chicken breast, That's protein, number one. Okay, now I need a carbohydrate. This could be potatoes, it could be bread, it could be rice, it could be pasta, it could be oats. Let's say I went with rice, right? Okay, that's my main carb source. From there, veggie or a fruit. Let's say I took a Asian medley frozen veggie mix and steamed it in the microwave and added it to the meal. That would check the box for my veggie or fruit. From there, let's say I put 30 grams of soy sauce on that meal and then a teaspoon of olive oil. There we go. 2 ingredients to make my food taste better. Now I'm eating Chinese food instead of plain chicken and rice. Do not eat plain chicken and rice. I will keep saying that. And I don't care if I sound like a broken record. Lastly, from that point, add the dietary fats later. I added the teaspoon of olive oil, right? If instead of using chicken breast, I used 80-20 ground turkey, it's going to be very high in fat, right? So I'm going to have trouble making my macros for the day line up, right? So just add the fats later. Lean protein sources for the win. Okay, that will pretty much do it. We're just going to leave you with a couple other things. We know what a source of each macronutrient is now. We've decided how many meals we need to have each day to stay on plan. We know what foods we want to have. If you're like, Ben, I hate tilapia, then I'll say never eat that for a protein source. Have chicken instead. So we know what we want to eat now. We are structuring our meals with the Coach Ben 3 to 5 ingredient per meal rule, with protein first, carb second, veggie or fruit third, and then condiments and fats later for the most part. We must use our food scale to make sure we are measuring everything accurately. I recommend using the food scale for your heavy hitters, your meat protein, your carbohydrate, your dietary fat. I would recommend weighing it, especially for the first few months of being on the plan. In the future, down the road, you should be very well equipped to guess what a 6-ounce portion of chicken breast looks like. But for now, let's just get really familiar with using that scale. But only do it for those heavy hitters. Just kind of guesstimate the calories from vegetables. I do want you to log it in your tracking app, but guesstimate it. And let me give you an example. When I look at the serving size of broccoli, when I buy a bag of frozen broccoli, it says 85 grams or 3 ounces, has about 5 grams of carbs, 2 or 3 grams of fiber, 1 or 2 grams of protein. So let's say that's the serving we desire to have. Log it into your tracking app, like MyFitnessPal, in accordance to that, 85 grams, okay, this way we can account for it. But don't be super neurotic about weighing it out. So you don't have to go, oh, okay, I weigh down my chicken, I weigh down my pasta, oh, I'm gonna start weighing out my veggies. No, I've never met anyone who's been like, Ben, I can't lose weight because of all the excess broccoli I've been consuming. It's just not a thing. If you're like, Ben, I'd rather just kind of take a big scoop of broccoli, put it on my plate, wonderful. Just log into your tracking app. I had the 3-ounce serving of the broccoli. Hey, maybe you had 4.2 ounces. But it's okay if you're a little bit over because it's a single ingredient carbohydrate that is very low in calories to begin with. So it's going to make overeating very difficult, okay? If I went out to eat somewhere and I had a serving of baby back ribs at Longhorn Steakhouse, it's going to be hard to be precise because there's about 20 different ingredients in that serving of ribs. It's not just pork. There's also barbecue sauce. They cooked it in oil. How much oil did they cook it in? Right? How much meat was on the bone, right? What else was in the marinade that they prepped it in? The list goes on, right? When it comes to a food like that, those heavy hitter foods, you're going to want to be more precise. That's an okay example, but that's just to show you that when you go out to eat, it makes calorie tracking very difficult. I really would prefer you have the majority of your meals at home because you can control the calories, what exactly is going into your meals very easily, right? So this way you could come up with a game plan. Last thing I would mention, make this a family affair, right? So maybe it's like a fun thing you guys do in the weekend. Maybe you're doing a little food prep for 30 minutes every week. Hey, we're gonna cook up, we're gonna bake or grill a bunch of pork tenderloin, right, for the week. At the same time, we're gonna fire up the rice cooker and make a bunch of rice, or we're gonna boil some pasta, right? Maybe we're doing it with the family. You could do it in a more time efficient manner if you have more hands involved. Or you can do it yourself and just make it happen, right? Because some planning, some intentionality goes a long way, right? And there's other things you could do to make this easier. You could buy things like pre-cooked chicken breast at the grocery store. Just look in the refrigerated section. You can buy it frozen even. You can buy bulk food items from food prep companies. The list goes on. But today I want this to be a little bit more concise without going into more depth. If you do want me to go into more depth, I would be happy to do so. Just let me know a specific topic you would like to learn a little bit more about. And again, I'll be more than happy to do that for you guys. Okay, so hopefully this helps. Let's get to work here. All right, so we've got our macros. Now let's come up with that meal plan so we can get to our fitness goals. Bye now.